So if you're a fan of Stranger Things and Christmas, then I have something amazing to show you. Look at this. I designed a Stranger Things themed bauble, and when it lights up, it shows the iconic Max and Vecna scene. So we can see Vecna himself, the big man, and then as we turn it around, we see the vines. We can see Vecna with his hands sort of getting Max into the trance, and then of course Max herself being lifted up into the air. And at the top of the bauble here, we do have the Stranger Things text. I absolutely love this bauble. To me, it is one of the best things I've made. And in this video, I'll show you how I made it. Everything from the design decisions to what software I used. And if you guys do think it looks cool, then let me know down below in the comments what sort of movie and TV show I should do next, because to be honest, I do really enjoy creating these. I think they turned out absolutely amazing. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Dev. I actually 3D print both as a hobby and I sell things online on my Etsy shop. I run a small 3D printing business. So if you guys are interested in actually, looking at my 3D printing journey on this channel, then I'd recommend you subscribe, and let's get straight into the video. So first, let's talk about the base of the design. Why a bauble? So last year, I actually ended up creating these custom lithophane baubles for people that I sell on Etsy. I sell them both online and in person, and to be honest, the feedback on them has been absolutely amazing. People love them. They already make amazing personal gifts, so I was like, why not adapt it to the Stranger Things TV show? So for those of you that don't know what a lithophane is or how it works, it's essentially a 3D printed image where if something is darker on the image, it ends up printing a little bit thicker, and the parts that are lighter in the image just end up printing a little bit thinner. So whenever you see light shine through it, which I've got a light source actually coming through here, you do end up getting these depth of colors, which just based on thickness allows you to see, sort of brightness on it, and actually ends up creating an image that you can see. However, when you do actually have an LED bulb in the center, you will see that it distributes the light uniformly, and you can actually see a lot clearer image, and that's essentially how it works. And even though this looks like a simple sphere, this file alone has 5 million points, and that's genuinely because of all these little displacements that is going on within this sphere in order to get the detail for the lithophane. And it's just amazing that the 3D printer can actually pick up on this level of resolution and allow you to actually see like an image on something this small. So because I already had this set up for my Etsy shop, I already had the base file. It's basically a Blender file that has the default bauble geometry, and I've set it up as a template, so whenever I just reload the image, or in this case a Photoshop file, it's going to automatically regenerate the points I need for the lithophane. So the hard part of it is already done. So now I just had to adapt it in order to actually create a Stranger Things part. So now let's talk about the images I wanted to use. Because season 5 wasn't actually out yet, I had to choose something from the older seasons, and I ended up choosing one of my favorite scenes. I'm sure you guys love it as well. It is of course the scene with Max and Vecna. I'm sure you guys know it. It's when Max is being lifted up the air. I'm sure even if you don't watch Stranger Things, you've seen that scene because it actually broke the internet. I'm pretty sure it was going viral. It's the one where the Kate Bush song is playing, running up the hill. I think it's episode 4 called Dear Billy. And to be honest, this scene was actually perfect for the bauble because it worked on multiple levels. First is because it's such an iconic scene. It's something that almost any fan would be able to recognize just based on the actual images alone. And second is because of the colors. This scene is actually naturally very red. Don't get me wrong, I know it is dark, but I mean, it does actually suit the Christmas theme. So this is why I ended up choosing these images for the bauble. So once I got the images sorted, I then decided to actually replace Merry Christmas with the official Stranger Things text. This is the font that they used in the beginning. And now it was time for the very first print. So here's the first version. I ended up printing it in white filament with a white LED because this was based off the other baubles that I do. I definitely like the images that I chose. I thought they ended up working quite well. They were also very clear, especially the Stranger Things text at the top. However, I did think something was missing, and this is where I ended up getting a bit more creative regarding the Stranger Things theme of this bauble. I ended up seeing this 3D printed support that I had from a previous print, more specifically the tree structure, and I was like, why don't we end up wrapping it across the entire bauble, because it sort of reminds me of Vecna's vines or his veins that he's got, and it ends up suiting the scene quite well. One, because Vecna's on it, but two, also because this is the scene where Max is being strangled by his veins when she's lifted up in the air. So I think it ends up being a very nice addition to the baubles. So I ended up going online, sort of searching how I can make these vines in Blender, because that was where my bauble was made. Then I saw this tutorial on YouTube, which actually showed me how to model the vines procedurally. It was very helpful. I've linked it down below in the description so you guys can check it out. And now let's see what the first version looks like with the vines. Okay, so here we have it. I've just added the vines and the detail to this. It's looking pretty cool. So we've got one small layer of vines there, top and bottom in Blender. And now we have the thicker ones there. So there you can see Max, and there we can see Vecna's face. There we can see his claws. So let's see how this ends up looking. So here's the very first version I've done with the vines, and I thought they turned out great. Don't get me wrong, there isn't a lot on there. I wasn't actually sure how much to put on there for my first time, especially because it was going to be different when you 3D printed them. But for proof of concept, I was like, wow. So I knew the next thing I needed to do was actually to add more vines. And that takes me to the second bauble. And here we are with the second print of the vines, and I think it looks incredible, right? So here I ended up actually increasing the contrast on the lithophane. So I made the darks thicker and the lights also a little bit thinner just to help with the contrast, but I ended up adding more vines and I actually really like them. So I've also included them around the edges here. I just thought it makes it a bit nice. So it's actually growing all around it. Here we can see the bottom and there you can see it sort of going up. But I was like, why don't we try it in red? One, it'll be a bit more Christmassy. Two, I actually have red filament. And three, Vecna's red and this entire scene in the show is red, so I thought, why not? To be honest, I was actually very nervous when the red one was printing just because I really wanted it to turn out well. The white ones, I thought they looked great, and I've actually never printed in red before. I was like, oh my God, is it going to be too dark? Is it going to look bad? But I am very pleased with the results. It is just something that you do have to end up trying, and I was like, who cares if it ends up bad? I was still very happy with the white ones, but it's just, you know, when you get an idea stuck in your head and how it's going to be, hopefully it ended up being like that, but it ended up exceeding my expectations. And also for the red colored lithophane, I ended up swapping this white LED with this yellow LED. I just thought the yellow one went a little bit better with the red. I don't think you can see the difference that well on the camera, to be honest. In real life, it does actually make a big difference. So there you can see the yellow and red one, and I do a white and red one. They both end up looking a little bit yellow on camera. However, this one is a little bit weaker and more white in real life. And yeah, I thought it turned out absolutely amazing. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys enjoyed it and if you think I should actually do another TV show or movie that you think would actually have a really cool themed bauble design. Because to be honest, I do enjoy making these. And earlier on the video, I did mention that I do run a small Etsy shop. So if you are interested what goes on behind the scenes there and actually how much I made on my first year of Etsy selling 3D prints, then you can click somewhere on the screen here. I'll put a link to that video. And yeah, that was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy. Take care guys. Cheers. Dev.